Hello, this is a video about the situation in Iran, and to start off, I want to make clear my stand on it. Being an Indian, I have a very different perspective on Iran as compared to what US and Israel are propagating. I see Iran as a strategic partner to India, which has helped India in its hour of need, but that has only begun, or that period of cordial relations with Iran began under the current Islamic Republic in 1979. Before that, when the Shah ruled the Iranian state, it was openly a collaborator and supporter of Pakistan, and it supported Pakistan during Pakistan's war with India in 1965 and 71. So, in that context, I see that since the Islamic Republic was formed, India has enjoyed good relations with the country, and given our historical ties, our people also look at Iranians as our natural and also strategic partners. Also, from my perspective as an Indian, I see the region in a much different tone than what US and Israel are claiming it to be. Now, if you compare Iran to the countries that operate in that area, you see that the region is filled with countries that US and Israel claim to not have legitimacy, in the sense that the way US and Israel are delegitimizing the Iranian state, I see other countries also fit to be delegitimized. Now, for context, let's start with Saudi Arabia. What Saudi Arabia, the way it operates and the way the disaster it has caused in Yemen, it is equally a potent target for US and Israeli intervention, but you don't see that happening. Same at the same time, you look at Egypt. It also is not a great country in terms of the way it is run. It is run by a dictator, Fatah al-Sisi, who is backed by the US and some other regional players, and he is a open dictator. It is a dictatorship, it's a military dictatorship, and I see that it is equally bad as Iran, if not worse. And also, if you take a look at the other countries that are there, UAE has been known to back RSF, which is a paramilitary force in Sudan, and it is accused by the UN of committing a genocide. So, in this context, I again see UAE to be either worse or as bad as Iran. So, why interventions are left only limited to Iran in that sense? And also, if you look at the other countries in the region, like for example, Turkey. Turkey is talking many things today, but Turkey is also known to oppress its minorities, that are the Kurds, and also they have played some mischief in Syria. They've supported a terrorist to come to power in Syria. No doubt the terrorist had replaced a dictator, but it is as or equal to what Iran does, if not worse. And at the same time, you look at the biggest bad boy in the Middle East, that is Israel. Now, if you see Israel is known to have committed genocide, or it is openly committing genocide against the Palestinian population within its territory. So, what happened after October 2023 is nothing short of a genocide, and it is the most prominent and the most deserving of an American intervention, but that is not happening. The bombs are being thrown at Iranians, and at the same time, countries which are bad actors as per international law are escaping justice. That is my perspective as an Indian on the situation. Now, if you look at the situation itself, you take a look at Trump. I don't trust him at all, to be honest, because he doesn't show to be having an honest intention in establishing a peaceful, a democratic Iran. What he wants is a way to control Iran or bring Iran under the thumb of the US power, and he's making uranium enrichment and the nuclear program as an excuse to do whatever he wants. And he's so erratic. If you look at it, I mean, I have never seen a leader being so unstable in what he wants. To be honest, when the strikes began, he said that he was trying to help the people of Iran. But now he recently spoke to the reporters in the White House while having Germany's chancellor sitting next to him, and he said that he has seen potential candidates within the current regime to replace the previous ones, but he thinks they are dead. So he's thinking whether there are more people that could take over. So basically, he wants to do what he did in Venezuela. He took out Maduro, put him in a US jail, and put him on trial. And he replaced him with Maduro's vice president, and he even praised her during the same meeting. He said she's doing a good job now. We've got some oil, and then we are getting more oil from them. It's benefiting them, it's benefiting the US. So this person doesn't want to actually have an effective regime change in Iran because that is not in their interest. They want an unstable or oppressor state to continue in Iran so that they can have a better deal. And what he wants is someone to be taking charge there who would listen to him or do things according to him. And if that person comes from the current regime, is more than happy to accommodate them, which would defeat the whole purpose of this whole conflict of attacking Iran and killing the supreme leader, which in itself should also ring alarm bells across the world about violations, not only about supremacy but also sovereignty. I'm very sorry, it's sovereignty, but also at the same time it should ring alarm bells in the sense that the respect for international law or sovereignty of countries is completely belittled by America because they just go pick up the leaders that they feel are a threat or are causing problems to them, and then they just either eliminate them or try to kidnap them. And that is not a very good way of operating. It will just create chaos. And at the same time, the way Trump has been treating his allies, now the Prime Minister of Spain said that the bases that US uses within Spain will not be allowed to be used in this conflict. And Trump just said that he will cut off trade with Spain. He's your ally, but then Trump is belittling him so much. He's saying, I'll just cut the trade with him to force him to come to agree to our position. But at the same time, he even said that we'll continue using them anyways and nobody can tell us how to operate. Your ally has told you that he doesn't want you to use the military bases in this conflict, and your response is, first, you're going to cut off the trade to force him to agree to what you want, and second, you are saying that you're going to anyways use it because you don't want to listen to anyone or bother with anyone's point of view. You're just going to do what you feel is right. That creates a problem. At the same time, if you see, the UK was asked to intervene in this matter more proactively, but the Prime Minister Keir Starmer, he said that he will allow limited use of military bases that UK controls in this conflict. And Trump again started making a big noise about how UK is not doing a good job and how situation is bad in the UK, and he's just again bad mouthing the UK Prime Minister. The most crucial ally to US in Europe. So Trump is a very unstable person, to be frank, and he seems to not have an idea or a end game to this conflict. He started by killing the supreme leader and the majority of the leadership and saying that he wants to force them to negotiate or defeat them or eradicate them. The goalpost keeps changing. Then at the same time, he has been talking about Iranian people rising up against the regime. Then in between, he said, don't leave your homes because currently there are many bombs being dropped, and for your own safety, stay inside, indoors for now. But my point is, how will the Iranian people know this? Because if you see the internet usage in Iran, it has dropped by more than 90%. So the message that Trump is giving out to the media, Western media, it will not get to the people of Iran because there is no internet there. And that is another problem. What does he want? Does he want to instigate an uprising against the regime? Then who does he want to, how will civilians get up and start attacking the government itself? And will the state survive? Because what he said in an example was, in Iraq, when the US went to war, it destroyed the state. It basically destroyed the government machinery that kept the services running. Like, for example, the fire brigade, the policemen, the military. They just went and removed those people, and that caused a lot of problems in Iraq. Now what Donald Trump is asking is, people should come and rise up. Against who? The regime or the state? And if the people stop functioning the way they do, like for example, if the fireman stops going to work, if the water department fellow stops going to the work, to his job, and the electricity department fellow stops going to work because he fears people will target him, then what will happen to Iran? At the same time, there are reports coming that Trump has been talking to the Kurdish militias within Iran to rise up and start an armed rebellion against Iran itself, the Iranian government. And that is a major problem because Iran is a multi-ethnic country. It's got Azerbaijanis in the north, it's got Turkic population in the north, it's got Arab population in next to the Persian Gulf, it's got Kurdish population in the south, Persians are in the middle, then there are other host of minorities also. So what if all of them start fighting and then the fighting breaks Iran into multiple states? Then what do you do? And how do you resolve that? How do you bring them together if they start fighting each other? So I just feel this is a very short-sighted gamble that Trump has taken. And what if he loses interest in it and then backs out? Right now he's just carrying out airstrikes. He's not put ground troops in, or rather plan to deploy ground troops. Then what happens once he decides he doesn't want to carry out the airstrikes anymore? He's encouraging, or rather overtly showing that other countries are willing to take some actions. What if US decides to back out and the countries are left to fight Iran on their own? I doubt they'll be able to compete. Saudi Arabia, for example, can't even fight its own battles. It brings a retired Pakistani army chief to lead its army in Yemen, and they didn't even win. And they were the most sophisticated army in the Middle East, apparently. One of the top 3 importers of defense equipments, and still they can't win against a ragtag group of separatists or militants in Yemen. And what has happened is, there was a time, just a trivial fact, Nizam of Hyderabad's military commander was a Saudi. Today, Saudis themselves don't have the talent to lead their own battles. So I doubt they'll be in a position to confront Iran. And as far as UAE is concerned, the way it's being attacked and all, it is because it's considered to be a close ally of Israel, and that is the reason they are getting targeted. And as far as Qatar is concerned, Qatar was the country that was blockaded by Saudi Arabia and its allies in 2017, but it was Iran who came to its rescue. So I don't think they'll want to fight Iran, like, maybe Saudi Arabia may be motivated and all. And as far as Netanyahu is concerned, this is my frank opinion. He is a war criminal who is a head of state, and the state has been committing genocide, and I don't even know if he has any authority to speak to the Iranians and talk to them about rising up against their government and fighting back and all those things. Whereas his credibility is in question. So that is about it for me about the situation in Iran so far. It's just developing at a rapid pace. I just saw that France has said that it is deploying its aircraft carrier in the Mediterranean Sea, and it is going to support Cyprus because it was Cyprus, a military base in Cyprus was attacked. I'm saying if France really wants to get into it, why doesn't it dare to send a aircraft carrier in the Persian Gulf and defend? The US itself is saying that it may start a protective patrol for the oil tankers in the Persian Gulf. But I feel all of it will be ineffective. And to be frank, if the war continues the way it is, one tanker blowing up will discourage everyone else to continue supplying or rather try to carry oil from that region, to be honest. And you see the Europeans, the way they are being shady. For example, now they are talking to Ukraine about restarting an oil pipeline that was carrying Russian oil to Hungary and Slovakia, if I'm not wrong, and that oil would then go to the rest of European countries because after suspending the gas and oil purchases from Russia, they basically turned to Qatar, and Qatar, when its oil refinery came under attack, stopped production. So the oil supply drying up from the Middle East has forced Europe back into Russia's dependence on Russia. And that is the weird thing. Now they are talking to Ukrainians about restarting the pipeline, and the pipeline was damaged a while back, and Ukraine has said that it is quite severe, but Europeans are accusing them of over exaggerating the damage to the pipeline to not allow oil to pass. So now they are into that whole thing to restart. So now, can Europe buy from Russia the gas and oil that it needs? And if they can be allowed, then why is India being stopped by the US? So you see the contradictions in the way things are happening in the world. And in that bargain, you kill a 86-year-old supreme leader of Iran. I honestly know that there are problems that were there with Iran on certain issues, but to be frank, we did invest in Chabar. We continued to do that, and we used to buy oil from them, and we used to make the payments apparently in rupees, which was advantageous to us and also helping them. So in that sense, I feel Iran is not what Iraq was. Iraq was starved for 20 years or so, a good amount of time before it was attacked. It was isolated. It didn't have the allies that it used to have. Iran is not Iraq in that sense. Iraq was isolated at that time when it was attacked and all those things. But Iran managed to keep its allies. It kept up a proxy fight against Israel and US. Now, if you talk about the proxy that Iran have, is one is Hezbollah, another is Houthis, because Hamas is pinned down in Gaza. but it's not finished. That's the important thing. It is still there. It's not like it doesn't exist anymore. After so much, Israel has not managed to wipe them out completely. At the same time, if you see, Israel has launched its operation in Lebanon against Hezbollah. At the same time, Hezbollah has been asked by the Lebanese government to give up its arms, and it's crucial because Hezbollah was one of the few groups that was allowed to keep its arms, or rather it was one of the few groups that managed to keep its arms after the civil war ended, and then they fought Israel in the mid 2000s, and it was a stalemate which was seen as a victory for Hezbollah. So I feel now that Hezbollah is facing pressure from the Lebanese government. I don't know to what extent it is, and also facing a near annihilation from Israel. It kind of puts Hezbollah fighters on death ground, and you never want to put your enemy on death ground, because once you do that, when you show that you're certain to get defeated and death is the only thing that will come for you, you fight till the end, and you fight like you have nothing to lose. And then what happens is they become ferocious, in the sense that you may never know, they may come out okay from this situation. Same thing for Iran. The whole point was, if you don't agree to this, we'll start bombing you. And then Israel went on a bombing spree in the 12-day war that took place a few months ago. Same thing with US went and bombed them. So that fear of getting bombed sort of took away that incentive to do things, because if you're going to bomb anyways, the incentive to improve goes away. And now with this war and killing of the supreme leader, even if this regime doesn't survive, it won't go down easily, because it has the capacity to fight. It is not a normal government in that sense that you can just go and wipe them out. US fought in Afghanistan for 20 long years, and they couldn't even wipe out a group of militants or terrorists like Taliban. And what do you expect them to do in Iran, which was a government that controlled the state? So I don't know how this situation will end up, and like I said, it keeps developing, and it's very difficult sometimes to focus on one thing, because by the time you finish working on it, it's already irrelevant because 10 other things have happened. So I'll get back to making infographics as soon as possible. This video was meant to be a placeholder till then. Hopefully, if you do listen to it, if you don't disagree with me, don't let me know in the comments that this is why you're wrong and all. I know you may not agree with me. It's just a matter of perspective. I see the things the way I see it now. It may change in the future, because you come across new information and your perspective shifts, and then your stand becomes that the stand in the past, you feel like it's outdated or it was wrong, and then you change. So let's see how it works out. Hopefully Iran comes out okay through this, and also the whole world, because the conflict does threaten substantial energy supply to the world. So right now I see some noise of China starting to act in it, coming into play, where it's pushing Iran or the Iranian government not to or rather to stop the shutdown of the Strait of Hormuz. And at the same time, China has been speaking apparently to the Israelis to stop their strikes in Iran. So let's see how it goes. I hope things get better and there is justice at the end of this all. That's all. Thank you.